Hello, this is Blue Star, Defender of Equestria, and this is my next Focus On video. The Marestream! Roar! The Marestream has appeared in both Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark, and I have a feeling we're going to be seeing it a lot more, so roar! I am wearing this helmet because I felt this video wasn't quote-unquote pony enough, and not to mention it could avoid certain other problems, but we shall see. But anyway, if you like the helmet or don't like the helmet, please leave a comment in the comments below, and we'll see where this goes from there. So anyway, as a virtual pilot, I love the Marestream. It's so cool that they actually brought a vehicle like the Marestream into, you know, the My Little Pony universe. Especially now that the three pony kinds live in cities, which are a fair distance away, it does make sense to have some kind of vehicle to get between them all. And not to mention, the ponies won't be quite so tired. There was at least one episode of Tell Your Tale where the ponies are like running around between all the different towns, and, you know, Sunny goes up to Queen Haven and is like, Queen Haven! I was thinking, oh, poor Sunny, it's a long way from Maritime Bay. Now, getting onto the Marestream itself is that I'm pretty sure it's taken from the Airstream trailers, which I think was actually a perfect thing to model this on, because I think the Marestream serves a couple different purposes. The first being that, yeah, it's just a vehicle to get between the three cities. The other, I think, is it might be more used like an RV of, like, the main five are going to go fly somewhere, and they're going to use this as kind of like their base camp. In fact, there's even a model of the Airstream that's called, like, the base camp. Ironically, the Airstream trailer is basically built like an aircraft using aluminum and rivets. So to make an aircraft out of something that is essentially based on aircraft technology is a very ironic choice. So between those two things of just being a vehicle and being almost like an RV for them to, like, you know, camp out somewhere, I think we'll be seeing the Marestream an awful lot. And especially now, it's basically parked in front of the Crystal Bright House. Unfortunately, how the Marestream created is another one of these examples of how Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark are kind of different, and they almost feel in conflict with each other, because we see in Tell Your Tale that, oh, Izzy and Zip were basically trying to fix up this beaten up old tram cart and make it into a flying vehicle, and I still can't help but think, this is not going to end well, because there's no way that this thing will be able to fly. And in Make Your Mark, they've already fixed up the beaten up old tram cart, and they say, oh, we could give it a go and see if it flies, and then they put the lantern on it, and then, you know, with the combined power of all their cutie mark magic, it becomes the Marestream almost out of nowhere. So unfortunately, those two things are kind of in conflict a little bit, but at the same time, essentially it was created the same way by the magic of their friendship and some help from the lantern. They took this beaten up old tram car that doesn't have a chance of flying and turned it into a pretty amazing flying magic vehicle. So just sort of the basic aesthetics of it, I really like it. I mean, it kind of resembles the Airstream trailers, but not really. And I do like the folding wings, and the wings almost look like they could be just big enough to fly on, but probably not. So I think from the outside, it definitely screams, you know, toy playset vehicle thing that Hasbro will probably sell and market at some point in the future, and I'm okay with that. If you saw this thing driving down the road, you might be a little confused, but otherwise, I think it looks okay, and I like it. So now I want to take a quick look around the interior of the Marestream and see what we can see. The Marestream is simply not just this vehicle. It's not just a bus, shall we say, that it's also an RV. So yeah, like in this shot, there's a cactus, like a lantern thing, and I'm not sure what that picture in the back is. I guess it's a mushroom. And there are like speakers just like everywhere. Or maybe these are just decorations that happen to look like speakers, but you can't really tell in this image, but that drawing is actually a drawing of almost like a copy of the photograph of Argyle and Sunny. So, nah. So in fact, here it is. So yeah, if you look at this image, you can see that it's Argyle and Sunny, and it's like, aw, that's nice. Now moving on, it's like now we kind of flip the camera around and we look across the to the other side of the Marestream. Yeah, we see this sort of like this bench area sort of in the rear where Izzy is kind of standing. It's like, at first I thought, wait, is that an ironing board? Oh no, wait, it's a fold down table. So, oh, clever, clever, I like. Just shifting a little bit over, it's like we can get to see the first shot of sort of almost like this little like kitchen area. I mean, we got shelving, there's a stove. This is simply more than just a vehicle to just go somewhere. It's also when you get there, you'll be able to cook and do all this stuff. So that leads to some interesting possibilities. It'll be interesting to see where they go with that, and literally, where does the Marestream go? This is kind of an okay shot of sort of like, I'll call it the back of the Marestream, but then, yeah, you can see the stove, a bowl sitting on top of the thing, which, considering this is a moving vehicle, maybe that wasn't such a good idea, but the shelving and all this stuff. And just there's a rug on the floor, so that's kind of nice. Overall, I think the the interior of this place is actually pretty nice. As a living area, this place is actually pretty good. So, Anyway, moving on. It's our first look kind of into the cockpit area. My first thoughts are like, there's actually not a lot here. The thing that I find kind of surprising, though, is that thing that's kind of like on the back wall. I guess it's a fold-down seat, which is surprising because the most remarkable thing about this cockpit is there are no seats. Ugh. In one of the Tell Your Tale episodes, we see that Zip has a rather, rough landing, shall we say, and some of the ponies are just being like thrown all over the place. And I was thinking, they really should have been wearing their seatbelts. But the problem is there's not even any seats. I do have to say, it's kind of difficult because, first of all, ponies don't really sit the same way we do, and I think they really did mean for this to be like the area for the main five to just sort of quote-unquote hang out and talk with each other while they're flying and stuff. So yeah, if they were like sitting in like chairs, that would be kind of difficult. I think the good news is that somehow these spots might sort of act like seatbelts, and that maybe they are somehow attached to the floor, sort of, because of this one shot we see that the main five are actually like upside down, so in theory they should just be going, ah! But somehow they're sticking to the ceiling somehow, but And to Pip's question of, wait a minute, 6 spots? But there's only 5 of us. Well, there are some theories out there that maybe that will change in the future, possibly involving a certain blue unicorn, but we shall see. That could be a whole video in itself. But at the same time, I think this may be a more practical thing. There's 5 of the main 5, but let's say they want to bring some other pony along, like in one of the episodes of Tell Your Tale. Much to Posy's dismay. So yeah, the 6th spot could just simply be, oh, this is just a spot for another pony if we ever need one. But overall, the cockpit area, I guess if that's what you want to call it, it's okay. It's a very large cockpit, all things considered. Let's just put it this way. I don't think there's too many 6-seater cockpits out there. But once you get all the main 5 kind of in there, it gets kind of cramped a little bit, which is why there's pretty much nothing here. But I just noticed that the flooring on this place is pretty cool. I mean, it's got actual, like, wood flooring going on in there, so... And of course, you can't have an air vehicle without a captain, and Zip has basically nominated herself for the captain's seat, so... So I'm a little bit familiar with, actual flying and controls. There's basically 2 different kinds of controls. The stick, where you just push it, in whatever direction you want to go, and then there's this, which is called the yoke, where you can rotate it like this to, roll and push and pull to control the pitch. So in some ways, this yoke is actually somewhat effective, although I have to say that here it looks more like a truck, like steering wheel thing, so you would have to push and pull like this, which would be awkward. Then again, of course, we're talking about a fictional magically powered vehicle that's flown by ponies, so... So now moving on to essentially the control panel of this, it's kind of actually interesting that, yeah, this is a touch screen with a couple icons on it, although apparently there is no other instrumentation of any kind, so, There's more speakers than there are any kind of instruments or controls. I think Tell Your Tale had a few more buttons and controls around, but yeah, there's basically the control column and this like control panel thing with a couple buttons on it. I must admit, I'm not quite sure what they all do. We'll probably see them use these buttons at some point in the future, particularly because there's not that many of them, so it was kind of funny. Zip's speech is like, well, I actually don't know how high we're up or how fast we're going, but I'm like, as a virtual pilot, I'm like, but that's not good. Again, it's a fictional vehicle in the My Little Pony universe, but still, it's like, I would still think they'd have some kind of instrumentation, because you really do have to know, how high you are, how fast you're going, and like where direction you're going, because otherwise you have no idea where you're going. But then again, there's an interesting thought here, is that Zip is actually a Pegasus, so Zip actually has some quote-unquote built-in natural instrumentation in some ways, so maybe those kinds of things are helping her. At the same time, though, however, Zip's first landing was terrifying. It's like, it's almost the other reason I want to wear this helmet, because we might be needing it. I was watching Winter Wish Day again, and I'm like realizing, this is actually Zip's very first landing, so in some ways she actually did okay, all things considered. That's the constant problem in this universe for these ponies, is that they have all these things to learn and relearn, but there's no pony to teach them. There's no pony that knows how to fly a vehicle like the Marestream, so there's no one to teach Zip how to fly it, so all she can do is just go for it and hope that things work out okay. Because unfortunately, she may be an amazing flyer, but that does not mean that she's gonna be an amazing pilot. Because I guess there would be some things that you could learn from one or the other, but at the same time, these are totally two different things that require two different kinds of skill sets. I just had a thought that would be devastating for Zip that, like, let's say one of the other main 5 fly the Marestream, and then they realized that that pony's a lot better pilot than Zip. Oh, that would be devastating, and I have a feeling they might actually do an episode like that, but we shall see. So what do I see next for the Marestream? It's like, well, obviously we're going to be seeing a lot more, because we're going to be using it for trips between, you know, the 3 cities. In fact, we've even seen one already where, you know, surprisingly, Sunny takes the Marestream and flies to all 3 locations, and I must admit, again, I'm surprised by that. It's like, whoa, when did she learn how to fly this thing? So I definitely think we're going to see more day trips between the 3 cities. You know, at some point, I'm sure they're going to have effectively what's an RV trip where they're going to fly somewhere, they're going to camp out somewhere, and they're going to use the Marestream as almost like their home base. But I think the most interesting thing about the Marestream is that this is showing that magic and technology can work together. So to borrow a line from Babylon 5, technology and magic are like the shoes on your feet. You get further with both than with just one. Clearly, the Marestream is powered by magic. They describe the lantern as like a key to the Marestream, but it's more like the power source. You remove the power source and this thing basically does nothing. We see this when Sunny, you know, picks up the lantern. We see that the control panel basically turns off. There's no obvious mechanism or engine that's powering this thing. It's being driven literally by magic. At the same time, the control panel is clearly technological. So like magic is kind of driving this thing, but it's technology that's essentially controlling it, which honestly kind of makes sense. This is a very technological world out, and since it was essentially created by the ponies, it makes sense that the Marestream would have a technological element to it. But that's what I find interesting. I think that people look at magic and technology as being two separate things. They're almost at odds with each other. But this is one of the few times where we actually see them working together. But, however, this is not the first time we've seen this. The Super Cider Squeezy 6000, or is it 3000? I honestly can't remember. The first episode where Flim and Flam appear, they are basically powering this machine with magic. So in some ways, this isn't a new idea, but I'm really glad that they, implemented it here. Because this has a lot of interesting possibilities. The ponies are learning more and more about magic, that maybe they might learn, wait a minute, we can combine magic with technology, and we could make something new and interesting with that. So that's an interesting possibility. I'm looking forward to see where they go with that. So overall, I really like the Marestream. I think that it's actually a pretty effective design. I think it works really well. It might look a little bit unusual, but I really like it, and I think it's definitely going to be a great addition to the show, and looking forward to seeing what they do with this and where they decide to take the main 5 and the Marestream, and looking forward to seeing more. So, I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you for commenting, liking, and subscribing, and until next time, this is Blue Star. Stay strong and pony on. Blue Star out.